This is WBSM On Demand.
Else.
It's time for South Coast Now with Chris McCarthy. Streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Text us using App Chat on the WBSM app. Now, Chris McCarthy.
Good morning. Good morning. So when I was up early this morning, as I imagine many of you were, it was sunny out. Now it's a little overcast, but I think we've crossed the Rubicon, if you will. We are into the warm weather. So enjoy it. Get out there. Even though the sun is not shining, it's relatively warm out. So have a good day. All right. A couple of things. We've got the mayor coming in at 11 o'clock. Mayor will take your phone calls at 508-996-0500. There was a rather uneventful city council meeting last night. And that is because the family, which is what the city council is, at least the clique, the in clique over there, God, is the family. They call themselves the family. Which means you're not in the family. You pay the bills that they spend the money on, right? But you're not in the family. I'm not in the family. The city council considers themselves a family. I now realize, do you remember when Derek was talking about a cult and it seemed nonsensical? Right? Seemed out of sync with the conversation. It was in the discussion of the business improvement district. Remember there was Marco was up there. Marco, of course, is from San Diego. He owns property in the city of New Bedford. Actually, more property than most of the city councilors do, actually. But who's counting? But Marco is not from New Bedford. He's from California. And he was up there, right? And Derek began this bizarre conversation about it's a cult. It looks like a cult to me. I now realize that Derek was talking about the other members of the city council. I now realize that Derek, seeing someone from California who was not clearly part of the family, he was pleading with Marco. This looks like a cult to me. In other words, help me. It was a cry for help. The other day, it was a night actually, when Derek Baptiste, Ward 4 city councilor, was talking about a cult, I think I realize now it was a desperate cry for help that he's in a cult. The city council is a cult. The family. That's what they call themselves. Like Charles Manson called the Manson family, right? We are the family, the Manson family. This is what the city council calls themselves, the family. Now, there are a couple of councilors who tell me, Chris, I'm not part of the family. And you can tell who they are. They don't have that 3-mile stare yet, right? They're not part of the family. Some people are so desperate to be in a family that they consider their colleagues a family. It's weird. But the New Bedford City Council acted like a family last night. They covered each other. They didn't let much discussion go on. The meeting was in and out. It was over. It's not even like they're making $50,000 in health insurance and a pension if they can hang around long enough. The family operated like a family. Now, I don't know if their inspiration is the Manson family or if in some bizarre way they think they're a mafia family. I don't know. Seems to me that some people are consuming way too much television if that's what they think. But to me, it looks like the Manson family. That was a cult, California cult. Before they became homicidal, they first had to be a cult, right? I'm not predicting homicide in the future of any of the city councilors. I don't think any of them have that much ambition. I don't think any of them have that much drive, that much passion about anything. But the New Bedford City Council, some of them refer to themselves as the family. And last night, the family spent a lot of your money. They spent it on a commercial kitchen. So understand this. The CPA money, I thought it was for recreation and things like the boys club or preserving open space or preserving the priceless artwork that the city of New Bedford has, the history of the city. I didn't realize it was for a commercial kitchen, which is going to be used, as it was explained in the hearings, primarily by the Mayan and Guatemalan recent arrivals to the country to make commercial products and go sell them. So that 1.5% that you, who are unfortunately property holders in the city of New Bedford, taxpayers, that 1.5% that you pay annually on the value of your home, the city council just use it for whatever the hell they want. If a group can go out and get a hold of a historic building, show me a building that's not historic, right? It's probably not for sale. But all the other historic buildings, they're for sale. If you can get control of a historic building, you can do whatever you want with it, and the City Council of New Bedford will fund it. They will subsidize it. And there's no limits. That means there's no limits on what they can spend your money on. If they can fund a commercial kitchen, they can fund anything. And I happen to think that was what last night's meeting was about. They've been getting to that point where they like to have this slush fund. And they realize they can get away with it. I'm the only one paying attention. And you. If you weren't paying attention, I wouldn't talk about it. If I didn't hear from so many people about how much you're learning, how your tax dollars are spent, I really would move on. But what I found is that most people have no idea the sort of shenanigans that are going on. I use that term specifically, shenanigans, because that used to be the name of the bar in the building that last night the city council funded. They've been funding now to the tune of over $1 million of your taxpayer money. Remember, your taxes are higher because the city council spends the money. Is this a group of people, the family, that should be in charge of a $500 million budget? Plus, like last night was over $2 million slush fund. money they can hand out to people that support them politically or threaten them politically. That's what really I see is going on. They're buying off people. I know for a fact that someone involved in one of those projects last night called this radio program when it was in the evening format, right? When it was Marcus and I, South Coast Tonight, called up and by name criticized one of the city councilors and then laughed about him. Called him names, laughed, gave him a couple nicknames. And last night, that city councilor, who, by the way, I pointed it out to him again, funded, without question, his project. I think that's hilarious because it's clear that city council has been intimidated, scared. So he gives money away to people that he knows don't like him and make fun of him in the effort to hope they won't do it anymore. Well, I found that segment to be pretty funny, so I hope that guy does do it, recognizing that he'll probably get more money out of it, so he probably should. But the family last night spent millions of your dollars. Now, if you don't pay taxes because you don't own property in the city of New Bedford, they still spent your money. Because in that CPA is also matching state funds, income tax, sales tax. It's all right in there. So they take the money from the taxpayers of New Bedford specifically. There's a state match. So that's how everybody else gets in the mix. And then they give the money away. They funded a sober house last night. Don't take my word for it. Scott Lang confirmed it. John Mitchell was opposed to it. But the family thinks they know better than Scott Lang and John Mitchell and obviously me. And they funded it. They funded a sober house last night. So remember, folks, if you want to get in the sober house business, by the way, since the city council greenlighted it, I know some people in the sober house business. It's a neighbor of mine in Fairhaven. He's got one now in New Bedford. All he has to do is buy a big old historic mansion, and the city council will fund part of the construction. And if they don't, they're discriminating. They funded it for their pals at the YWCA. And by the way, I happen to think the YWCA will do a great job running this sober house. If you look at the plans, they're going to have round-the-clock like guards or attendants, something like that. Round the clock. That's good. Why do you need it? I don't know. But they need it, apparently, and they're going to do it. So I think the YWCA, subsidized by the members of the city council, the family, with one exception, Leo Choquette. One exception, Leo Choquette. So I don't know how they can honestly come on this radio program and say they're against sober houses. Or stand up in a neighborhood meeting and say they're against sober houses. They just happen to be against the one in their neighborhood. Now, maybe some of the city councilors, and look, I think the world of Sean Oliver. I think he's a smart guy. Maybe his thought was better there than in Ward 3. I'd rather have it over there at the YWCA. They can take the recently released inmates into that sober house, and maybe there's less inmates for the sober house in Ward 3. I don't know. That's kind of like a bank shot, though. But a commercial kitchen, they are going to fund a commercial kitchen on the idea that it's a historic building. They got an old theater, right? An old theater They're not going to show movies there. They're going to bake traditional Guatemalan food for sale, I guess, on the street. Because if you have a storefront bakery, you'd cook it in your own bakery, right? But no, the city council last night funded a commercial kitchen, which will be used primarily by the Mayan and Guatemalan community to bake commercial food, which they then, I guess, sell on the street. Push carts or, I don't know. So, who's going to supervise it? I asked Shane Burgo that. And he literally said, well, I imagine that it's going to be the people that are asking for the money. He imagines how things happen. He imagines it. I love Shane Burgo. If he wasn't real, I'd have to invent him. He's that important to my program. I'd have to invent him if he wasn't real. Thank God you people vote him into office. The city of New Bedford is well served. The family is running things. I think it's the Manson family, hardly the Corleone family. But again, you know that the Corleone family was an imagination. Mario Puzo imagined the Corleone family. Then he wrote a book about it. Then Francis Coppola imagined the movie and did a movie about it, right? It's all imagination. They imagine that they're a family. It is really like, I'm telling you, I know I started this rant out by saying, I think Derek Baptiste was calling for help, asking a stranger, someone from out of town. He doesn't see many of those, right? A guy from California. I think this is the cult. He wasn't talking about the Business Improvement District. He was talking about his colleagues. He'd been abducted into a cult. I think that the best thing the voters of New Bedford can do is break up this toxic cult. Break up the family. What the New Bedford City Council needs is a good divorce attorney. Now, is there anybody out there that's willing to do it? It's quite a project. You'll have to deprogram them. Leo Choquette, I think, is trying. Sean Oliver, I think, is trying. But it's a big project. Ryan Pereira, I think he's right in there. A lot of hope for Ryan, but I think he's right in there now. I think he's in with the family, which is a cult-like behavior. But again, Derek Baptiste, he reached out for help. We ignored it. I mocked it. I didn't understand it. I'm a little late to the lesson. I didn't quite understand it. But Derek Baptiste, a couple weeks ago, when he was pleading, this looks like a cult to me. He was not accusing Marco from out of town of being in a cult. I think it was a desperate cry for help. And I think we can help them. I think we have to help them. All right, 508-996-0. If you're on hold, stay there. I do want to speak with you. But what do you think of last night's, quite frankly, a cult meeting? The family. The family voted through all the CPA projects. No discussion. All of them went through. 508-996-05. And stick around. We'll be right back.
When supper time came, the old cook came on deck saying, fellas, it's too rough to feed you. At 7 p.m. a main hatchway caved in. He said, fellas, it's been good to know you.
That's the best line of that song, right? The cook comes in. It's too rough to feed you, boys. I can't do it. Then the main hatchway caves in. It's been good to know you. That's the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, right? So 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris.
How are you?
Oh, you're making me laugh so at times, but it's really sad.
Right. I mean, $500 million these people are in charge of. It's crazy.
So the doing that with the food.
Yes, the commercial.
I can't believe that. And on the whole avenue is immigrants on that side of the street, all the way down. It's all immigrants. I don't even know if they're legal or not legal, unlegal or whatever you call it. I don't even know why they don't do a sweep down there to begin with.
Well, it's very difficult to tell because now, even if you're illegal, you get a driver's license. So it's crazy.
Oh my! I know, and I was walking up there one day, and I went in a shop, and the girl could not even speak a word of English, but she knew about the money. She had a thing to do a credit card.
Oh, yeah.
And she had a shop. And here I am all these years wanting to open up a shop. I can't even do it. I couldn't even do it now if I wanted to.
Well, you should apply for CPA money.
Where do you go do that?
Go down City Hall. Actually, call up one of the city councils. They'll explain it to you. Do you know any of the city councilors? You need to know one of them to call them. That's how this
Naomi
works.
Connie.
Call her up, ask her, tell you want CPA money.
Listen, Naomi Connie voted that in?
Yeah, she's all for it.
Oh, my God. And you know what? I don't know. I don't get it. But the whole avenue is all immigrants. Well, they caught one that was making phony IDs, remember?
That guy was part of an international organized crime identity theft thing. They had an illegal bar room on Acushnet Avenue. They were also working with a guy from Chelsea to make illegal documents. It was all handled in the federal courts. It's an amazing story. I do remember it.
Yeah, and I don't think he got jail time even. He probably had so much money stashed from doing that because they didn't catch him for a very long time.
It was all cash.
That was right near Rite Aid, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just, I hate to say this, but there's a lot of bad things going on the avenue. You have to go there to see it, and people don't go on that end of the city. So, in other words, they're going to be making Guatemalan food and selling it to the Guatemalans because who's going to go there and buy it out of trucks?
You never know. The old former city councilor Hugh Dunn may be down there buying some, but it'll be mostly people from the Guatemalan community. That's correct.
Well, there's already a bakery there because I went in it once, and the bread is very good, and a woman owns it. It's very small. It's on the corner, and it's where that fire was. And remember that fire in that big old historic house there?
Yes.
Rooming house?
Yes.
When they were jumping out the windows? It's kitty corner to that, and it's a good bakery, but there's one there already. What do they need another one for?
Well, here's the thing. Anybody who is in trying to make it, as you pointed out, you tried, would love a handout from the government, right? So it's not that they don't need one. It's not that one is needed. It is that they're giving out government money. So that's what creates disruptions in the economy that normally wouldn't happen, except that people who don't know what they're doing, meaning the city council, gives money to people to start businesses that may or may not be necessary because they're not in the business of lending money. They just give it away.
Wait a minute, Chris. I got to tell you something.
Okay.
No word of a lie. On the avenue, an immigrant owns a store, and he buys stuff off the street. That's illegal.
Yeah.
People that are like prostitutes or whatever, I've seen it with my own eyes because I go and eat food down on the upper end of the avenue going towards Nash Road.
Right.
Because there is some good Portuguese food on that side. Mm-hmm. But it seems like most of the Guatemalan or whatever you call it, Mayan, whatever, is taking over more down there. It's kind of taking that all over where that Capitol Theater is and stuff. But anyway, I've seen them. I've witnessed them. They go in and they sell things. And it could be stolen things, and then it's on the shelf.
Really?
So it's really got to be it should be a sweep. The police need to do a sweep down there big time.
I don't think we have enough police left in New Bedford to do that.
Right. So they're getting away with it, and they're very cocky. They're getting very, very cocky. For coming over here And being a immigrant, they're very cocky. My family came over here and they didn't act like that. My grandmother walked the whole city collecting insurance by foot. And she raised 8 kids that were good kids that all went to church. They didn't even get a divorce. They stood together. She chopped her finger off in the weaving mill. They worked hard. And they never, ever drove a car. Yeah.
No, that we need more people like that because cars are bad for the environment.
I don't know, Chris, but it's crazy. It's awful. I feel like moving out of New Bedford, really.
Well, we need you here. We need you here as part of the fabric.
Okay.
If you move far, make sure you keep the phone number so you can call back.
Like Ferris.
I love Ferris. You can be my new Ferris. We can never really replace Ferris, but he's still around. You never know. When you bring him up, he calls. He comes in. He's like Beelzebub, whatever that is.
Maybe he'll call.
He might call. Ferris might call.
Okay, Chris.
Thanks, Shani.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah, look, change happens. My point is just that when you voted, or your neighbors voted, to put the CPA fund, 1.5% tax on your property, did you imagine it was being used to fund businesses? Of course you didn't. You thought it was going to be used for open space, playground equipment, real historic stuff like the paintings of George Washington and other things like that the city owns and they need to be restored and they're priceless. Did you think that you would be buying a clubhouse for a nonprofit that primarily works with the immigrant community? Did you think you would be funding a commercial kitchen? Did you? Of course you didn't. None of that was spelled out because none of that is proper. What they're doing is they're grabbing control of historic buildings and they're getting CPA money to create other businesses. So as I asked Ian Abreu if the porn store next door here to the radio station, amazing.net, which if you're in the porn business, I mean, it's a very reputable organization as far as pornography goes. That's not a commercial. I'm just telling you that here it is. But I asked Ian Abreu, I said, if that store bought a historic building in New Bedford, would you vote for the porn store to get CPA money? And he said yes. As Mayor Lang said, if you're buying a historic building to store nuclear waste, the city council ought to look at that. They ought to not just blindly give you CPA money. But Councilor Abreu, I think speaking for the family, said yes, we would give CPA money to a porn store if they found themselves able to buy a historic building. And we know that, if you want to take Scott Lang's example, nuclear waste, or my example, a porn store, last night, the New Bedford City Council voted to give CPA money to a sober house. I mean, it's outrageous, but that's what happened last night. The family decided you needed more sober houses. Oh, and it happens to be that someone they like needed the money to open the business that they like, the sober house. They also decided that the amount of bakeries and commercial kitchens wasn't enough in the city of New Bedford. So the taxpayers are going to pay for another commercial kitchen to be used, as a city employee explained, and a mayor's appointee, primarily for the Guatemalan and the Kitchi community, the Mayans, to make products which then they'll go sell, I assume on the street. Push carts, and I don't know if they brought their donkeys up here, but I've been all over South and Central America. Historically, they use burros down there. So I don't know if you can get CPA money for a burro or a burro barn, right? I mean, why not? Why not? 508-996-05. Stick around. I'll be right back.
I can see her looking fast in her faded jeans. She's a hard-loving woman, got me feeling mean. Sometimes I think it's a shame when I get feeling better, when I'm feeling no pain.
That's Gordon Lightfoot, and the woman he's singing about is his girlfriend, who later became infamous for delivering the hot shot of heroin and cocaine to John Belushi. So she's quite a lady. And as he says in that song, sometimes I feel better when I'm feeling no pain. I think that was her plan. But fortunately, Gordon Lightfoot escaped. John Belushi was not so lucky. But he now resides permanently on Martha's Vineyard. So he's kind of in the listening audience. So it's kind of a local story for me. John Belushi is buried out on Martha's Vineyard. Folks, I'm telling you all this bad news about the family that runs the city of New Bedford. The city council, they consider themselves a family. I think one city councilor desperately cried out, "It looks like a cult to me. Looks like a cult to me." If you've had it with New Bedford, if you want to get out, don't run, don't walk. You can drive. Go to Mac Auto Sales, 188 Rivet Street, New Bedford. They'll repair your car up so you can get the hell out of town. If you need to get your car ready for the summer because maybe you're heading to California or you're heading to Las Vegas, whatever, they will summarize your car for you, okay? Give them a call, 508-565-6221. They're open weekdays 9 to 5. Now, if you need a new car, a new used car, perfect. Mac Auto Sales has quality used car. Just the perfect kind of car to get out of town, right? To make a long-distance trip. Mac Auto Sales. Tell them Chris McCarthy sent you. Also, if you have a foreign car, perfect. They specialize in foreign cars. We bring Natalie's BMW to Mac Auto Sales. Again, if you need to get your car ready to get out of town, or if you need a new car to get out of New Bedford, Mac Auto Sales, they won't steer you wrong. All right? 508-996-0500. We have the mayor coming in at 11 o'clock. He asked you, the voters, and the city council, he told you all he was not in favor of the YWCA residential program, which I've shortened the title down to Sober House. Scott Lang agrees with me. You've had Mayor Lang, Mayor Mitchell, both say they were opposed to it. The family, the city council, said, we know better. It's a handful of failed mayoral candidates in the family. They know better. The voters reject us, but we know better. And they gave him the money. With the exception of Leo Choquette. Leo Choquette persists. By the way, folks, I'm catching word that the Shane Denistas are increasing the lobbying campaign to stop the Business Improvement District. So while they're doling out money with ladles for businesses, commercial kitchens and sober houses, they are trying to prevent property owners, taxpayers for the city of New Bedford from using their own money to improve the city of New Bedford. That, my friends, is what the Sandinistas did, right? They gave out money to their friends in Nicaragua and guns. They gave out money to the party faithful, and they prevented private entrepreneurs from conducting necessary improvements to the economy, thereby destroying the economy of Nicaragua. The Shane Denistas ride high here in New Bedford. Why do I call them the Shane Denistas? Well, because they are led by Shane Burgo and they practice Sandinista-style economics. The Sandinistas. You have the family. Their economic philosophy is the Sandinistism, right? Sandinista economics led by the dominant personality, Shane Burgo. Sandinistas. Shane is like the strongman. He's the leader. He's got them all following him. Shane is the leader. Shane, he's the strongest personality among the family. He leads them. The Sandinistas. Now, not everybody is a Sandinista. Some people have not drank the Kool-Aid. They haven't joined the family. They're not in the cult. But, nonetheless, the family, the economic philosophy of the family, and why do I say that? I remember when Linda Morad, who had been a Republican, was a banker, joined in with Shane Burgo, the Sandinistas, to propose seizing private property to control the rent, right? If you own rental property in the city of New Bedford, if the government, the Sandinistas, can set the amount of rent you pay or you collect, that's rent control. When Linda Burgo joined in with the Sandinistas to propose rent control, that was when I knew that Shane Burgo was the strongman. He was the Hugo Chavez, the Fidel Castro of the family. You see, Shane is like Fidel Castro and many members of the city council of the family. So I would count Maria Giesta, obviously. Linda Morad. I think Brian Gomes was for rent control. Derek Baptiste. These are the Sandinistas. Shane is the Hugo Chavez, the Fidel Castro. He is the leader of the New Bedford City Council. I would imagine next time around he'll be the president. Why not? He's leading those people, with the exception of a couple of people. Sean Oliver, Leo Choquette. They stand alone. And they're being told that, right? 508-996-0500. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Just like a paperback novel, the kind the drugstore sells. When you reach the part where the heartaches come, the hero would be me. The heroes often fail.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Chris McCarthy. Of course, that's the sounds of Gordon Lightfoot. My uncle wrote songs for Gordon Lightfoot. I don't think it was any of those ones, but maybe the B-side. Anyway, he was on my mother's side anyway. But wrapping up this conversation here with the city council. Again, last night, par for the course, the family did as they wanted. And again, they have the right to. You folks elect them. Until you're willing to elect different people, you're going to keep getting the same thing. Now, I think the positive changes that have happened, don't get me wrong, I think it was a tragic day for the city of New Bedford when Hugh Dunn resigned. I think he really brought that city council up, certainly the brain wattage. But I think that Sean Oliver has been a good replacement, and he's independent. I think Leo Choquette, he reminds me a lot of Hugh Dunn, actually, Leo. They went to the same law school. They're about the same height. I guess that's actually where the similarities end. But the two guys who are new to the board, Leo Choquette and Sean Oliver. Think about this for a second. Those are ward councilors. It's a lot easier to replace ward councilors, particularly when one resigns, but if you're a challenger out there, you should focus on a ward seat, I would say. I don't think Leo or Sean, they're too new to be replaced. They haven't been inducted into the family yet, right? But take a look around at what is open, what is